Welcome to Trail Talk here on LTTV. I'm Chris Forde. I'm the Director of Marketing at Illinois Eastern Community Colleges and Lincoln Trail College. And joining me as always is Dr. Zahi Atallah, the President of Lincoln Trail College. Zahi, how are you today?
Great. Yourself?
Good. Well, Zahi, we've talked a lot over the last few months about fostering student success.
Yes.
And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the efforts that we've done here at Lincoln Trail College. And one of the things specifically that we're going to talk about is LT Cares, which serves as a food pantry and an essential items pantry here on campus.
Right. Over the last few months, we've talked about what can get students to succeed, complete and succeed, whether it's a semester, a course, or an entire certificate and degree. And time and again, and talking to many people like we have, it's not the rigor we have in our classrooms or what we think is the rigor that is causing students to not continue. It is life. And we haven't created anything new here by having a food pantry for our students. It's been done in a number of different places. But what's special about the one we have, it's right in the middle of our largest hallway, and it is consistently stocked through the efforts of faculty and the student senate advisors, including meats and eggs and milk, things that are healthy and nutritious. So in many ways, it's not just your typical food pantry where you have canned and dry foods. It's a little bit more than that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I like is there's an opportunity for a student to prepare a full meal. It's not stocked with, whatever people had in their pantries at home and didn't want to use. Mm-hmm. It's stocked with those essential items so that they can prepare a full meal, like you said, eggs, meat, dairy, all of that. And then also some personal care items as well. Right. And, one of the things that had never really occurred to me before we went down this road, and something that I hadn't really thought about, is nationwide there are a lot of students that face food insecurity.
Yes.
And that's something that some of our own students were also facing, food insecurity. And when you talk a little bit about, it's not necessarily the rigor, but when they go home, they're hungry, they don't necessarily know where the next meal is going to come from.
Yeah.
That makes it hard to focus on your academics.
Yes, and for every student who's able to focus, you have many, many more who are unable to. It's accentuated when you have dependents, parents or children or siblings that you have to take care of. On top of the food insecurity, nationwide we have a severe issue of homelessness among students. I think some of the analyses nationwide have shown that about 20% of community college students are living in homelessness, whatever that means, crashing a couch or in a hostel, youth hostel, or if they can afford it, or on the streets. And how many more are hungry, although they have a roof, whatever roof means, and living with, in a space where many people live is not necessarily conducive for studying. So the concept of student success, on the one hand, is ensuring that they're eating healthy food and not just pastaronis and things of that nature, but also providing a space that is welcoming, a space that is conducive for learning. Because, and to quote Amarillo College in Texas, we need to love our students to success. And some people can call it coddling, and what's wrong with that? It's our job.
Right, and one of the things that I really like about the way that we've set up LT Cares here is it's no questions asked. It's open, during the day, all day, and students can come and go as they please, as they need to. It's not something where you have to fill out paperwork or prove, a need for it or something like that, because the other reality is there are people that have a lot of pride, and if they have to do some of those things to prove eligibility, for example, they may not do it, just based solely out of pride. So I think that was a really smart thing to do. The other thing that I really like is, while this is new for us relatively recently, we've had a lot of community support in this. Over the years, Student Senate and Phi Theta Kappa have done food drives that have been very, very successful, that have helped not just our own LT Cares, but also food pantries in the community. And we've had a tremendous amount of donations for those. And, recently, the United Way gave a very big donation to LT Cares to make that sustainable through the year. The LTC Foundation also gave to do that. And our own faculty and staff have been very generous with their own money to make sure that this is a sustainable thing.
And if it's not money, it's the time that faculty and staff dedicate and devote to that extremely important element of supporting our students. I want to add to it that, yes, if you put paperwork and ask questions, you might detract many people. But I want to also say the mere fact that it's right there in the middle of our biggest hallway, not hidden somewhere where you have to, go through 20 people and have 10 stamps and what have you, makes it less of a daunting space. Just the other day, I was helping put some meat that I got from the store into the freezer, and there's this young lady, student, who's trying to look for things, and you can tell that she's uncomfortable because of the presence of somebody who doesn't share the same struggles in life. And I asked her a simple question is, would you care for any meat before I put them in the freezer? And she was intimidated at the beginning, and then she saw taco shells, and she thought out loud, well, we can have tacos tonight. And she took one package of ground beef. That touches me. The fact that that individual could have gone home, and her family, and if she's got dependents, I don't know, could have gone hungry, and something as relatively inexpensive as tacos, street food, could have meant a difference. You talked also about the fact that we have non-food items, toiletry stuff. In addition to, we also put out bed sheets for students and notepads and pencils and pens. Not that we're trying to compete with our own bookstore, rather identifying that so many of our students cannot afford it, even with Pell Grants, even with the very generous scholarships that our LTC Foundation gives. They're exceedingly generous. But when we look at our data, IPED's report shows year after year that the overwhelming majority of our students, well over 80% of our students, are eligible for financial aid. So that's poverty related. There are years where it's 100% who are. So how do we help them excel?
Right, and that's the key. And a lot of people, when you're thinking student success, the first thing you're thinking is, make sure there's access to tutors, make sure there's access to the library and those sorts of things. And those are all incredibly important parts of this too. But also there are basic human needs that need to be fulfilled.
Yeah.
And, in some cases, yes, the LT Cares Pantry, there's been a lot of work that has gone into that, a lot of hours. There's money that goes into that. But at the end of the day, it's a really simple and important thing that we need to be doing.
Yes, and when you talk about the significance of having tutoring, the significance of having a library that's open, we have to think a little bit bigger than just having them open. Does it help when the tutor is in the center, when the students are in the classroom, right? So yes, we need to feed our students, but we also need to look at how we can zoom out and look at all of their needs and walk in their shoes, albeit it could be a virtual walk. Similarly, we put a lot of focus on tutoring, supplemental instruction, food, but we forget that although the instruction at Illinois Eastern Community College is one of the most affordable in the state of Illinois, our books are not. So how can we couple that with efforts to take us toward more and more open educational resources and affordable educational resources? Even going from regular old $400, $500, $700 book, $1,400 book in one case, to a 1 year long or 1 semester long code that gives you access to all of this information that costs a tenth or even a 50th of the cost in some cases. Those are important questions. Those are questions that are central to the success of our students. If they're going to be worried about, well, I may be able to get coverage for tuition and fees and then get some food here at LT Care, but they can't afford the books, they're not going to come here.
Mm-hmm. It makes it very difficult to study for that class. For example, if you have to rely on borrowing a book from somebody or finding it at the library or whatever. And I remember when I was in college, now almost 25 years ago, the sticker shock that came from the first time I bought textbooks. And again, that was almost 25 years ago, and they've only gone up from there. And I can remember the professors that required purchasing multiple books, and you might read a chapter or two out of one of those books, and how frustrating that was.
And frustration, and you were a full-time student, right? Mm-hmm. That was your entire job, and I shared the same situation. Our parents, we were lucky that they were willing to sponsor us in that way, but those are not the cases of our students. How many of our students are actually working?
Yes. So we've been talking about student success here on Trail Talk. If you enjoy talks like this, be sure and subscribe to our channel. Ring the bell down below to get updates on when we post new content. And be sure and follow us on all of our social media platforms. For Dr. Zahi Atallah, I'm Chris Forde. We'll see you next time on Trail Talk on LTTV.